we got to start by finding the possible rational zeros. Your P over Q is equal to 6 over 3, which implies plus or minus 1, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, divided by plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3, which will possibly create fractions if need be. So to list them, they are plus or minus 1, plus or minus 1/3, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 2/3, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 3/3 is just 1, so we won't put that, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 6 divided by 2 is 3, which we already have. So those are our possible rational zeros. Now we got to go through and find some. Okay, so let's start with 1, and you don't have to start with 1. You can start with whatever you feel is right. But our coefficients are 3, negative 11, negative 1, 19, and 6. This was a fourth power. There should be 5 terms there. We're good. 3 multiply 8 multiply 7 multiply 26 multiply 32. That didn't go in evenly, so 1 doesn't work. We got to try the next one, negative 1. And we got to keep going until we find something. So 3, negative 11, negative 1, 19, 6. 3, negative 3 is negative 14. 14 is negative 13. Positive 13, sorry. Negative 13 is 6. Negative 6 is 0. That we're happy with. Okay? So we've got an x equals negative 1 is one of them. If you want, you can go and try to factor from here. It is possible that negative 1 could go in here twice. So I should test negative 1 again, although I know the answer, so I'm not going to go there. Let's go 2. And again, now notice that I'm going to copy down the last set of numbers here. This is 3, negative 14, 13, 6. So now when I'm doing that, I bring down the 3, that's a 6. Add negative 8, negative 16, negative 3, negative 6, 0. That's exactly what I needed, right? Okay, so what I've done now, x is 2, is I've got myself now, so this says 3x squared minus 8x minus 3 equals 0. And since we're experts at quadratics, let's go ahead and see if we can factor. We're looking for factors of negative 9 that add up to negative 8. And if all goes well, that would be negative 9 and positive 1. So 3x squared minus 9x plus x minus 3 equals 0. We're going to group and factor. And again, you might have to use the quadratic formula. You might have to complete the square. All depends on what's needed. I'm going to factor out a 3x. Leaves an x minus 3. Got to factor something out, so I factor out a 1, which doesn't change anything. Equals 0. We're going to regroup, and we're going to pull out the x minus 3. That leaves a 3x plus 1 equals 0. That tells me that x is equal to 3 and negative 1/3. So 3, negative 1/3. Okay, this now allows me to graph, and I'm just going to sketch this thing, right? I've got um, zeros at 3, 2, -1, and -1/3. So I'm gonna put, there's no multiples here, so there's gonna be a point here. -1/3 is gonna be right there. Probably should have blown this up a little bigger there and there. I know this was a positive even. It's going to start up, it's going to finish up. So here, let's see how this goes. Starting up here, comes down through 3, back up through 2. I should have plugged in 0, but I know that if I plug in 0, x is 6. So this is going to cross up here at 6. Let me do that prettier here. Let's go from here, coming down through 6, back up through -1, and I've got my graph.